All right, so we are talking about immigration workflow, how we did it within Microsoft. My name is Ilyas Chaudhary. I'm part of Microsoft Core Services Engineering and Operations Group. We build and deploy Dynamics applications within Microsoft. And along with me, I have a few of my colleagues, Anil and Azhar, who are here for any other follow-up questions. So what we are going to go through is we'll talk about the introduction to MIMS, as we call it, which is Microsoft Immigration Management System. Why is it complex? So the previous application, which if some of you were here, were complex because of the volumes. This one is complex because of the business criticality or the impact to the end users. We'll look at the technical architecture and then we'll go into the demo and look at some of the screens. So here at Microsoft, we attract and hire talent across the globe. So we've got a global workforce. We bring in people from different regions, different geography, inclusive and diverse talent, which means we have to make sure that they are authenticated to work in United States, which means they require work authorization and visa to be available to be working in Microsoft and then active in their status. This whole workflow of bringing people into United States and then making them valid or having them work in US is a complex process. What we have used is Dynamics 365 customer engagement for building this workflow. And then this is also applicable for the principals, or as we call it, the employees of Microsoft and their families. So even for the people who are working in Microsoft, their families also rely on the visa, which has to be sponsored by the employer. And then this system deals with that. So here's a quick look at what the system entails at a glance. We process around 60 different visa types. Now, if you have ever heard of the immigration scenario, the visa types can actually differ based on whether it's H1, L1, a lot of other permutations of the visa type. There are different templates which have to be populated and submitted to the USCIS, wherein you get the approvals or the final decision. And lastly, in terms of the cases, we file around 25,000 cases per year. So we're looking at around 12,000 plus Microsoft employees who have to go through this process of the work authorization. Now, if you were to ask why is it so complex? You'd file the visa once and it should be done. Well, the actual life cycle of the whole immigration workflow for United States is it actually has to continue till you get your green card, which means sometimes it could take decades for getting a green card, depending on the country you are from. In terms of the complexity, as I said, we are dealing with different USCIS forms which have to be pre-populated and automated and then submitted to the USCIS. We are looking at the configuration of different surveys and the questionnaires which the employees have to fill for the USCIS forms to be populated. And then we are looking at a lot of systems to integrate, which is integrations with your HR and recruiting and the other systems. So the question is, does Dynamics populate the USCIS forms? Dynamics auto-generates the USCIS forms with barcode, but then the filing still is manual because USCIS has not enabled that integration. So here's a quick look at the architecture. If you look at it, we are actually catering to different personas of the users. So as I said, the life cycle or the workflow starts with the candidate applying to the job in Microsoft, which means they have to go through the visa evaluation, wherein the recruiting team has to validate whether the person, he or she, is active and can be hired by Microsoft in the United States. So as the recruiter, the HR people actually use the portal to submit the details. In the core of the system is Dynamics 365, where we have used primarily the customer engagements to enable the scenario of the forms generation or the case management. If you look at it from the integrations perspective, we are bringing in a lot of employee data from the HR systems. We are populating the USCIS forms, as we said, and then there are other Azure services which are relying on which we are relying on for storing the documents. Because this data is crucial and important, it has to be stored and then made available in the system for any auditing or reporting purposes. And then lastly, there is after the USCIS actually submits in their decision, we get a receipt which has to be scanned and then brought into the system for the auditing purpose. So as a whole, this is the scenario for MEMS. If you look at it, the personas of or the users who are using the system, from the CRM perspective, it's mostly the attorneys, which are Microsoft attorneys and the paralegals and the outside counsels. And then from the portals or from the external users, it's candidates before they become the employees, or after they are hired at Microsoft, it's the employees who access the system using Microsoft portals. Let's switch on the So we'll quickly look at some of the interfaces or the UI experience for the system. Now, if you look at it, this is your native Dynamics CRM or customer engagements, wherein the attorneys or the paralegals who are working on the cases. So these cases could be generated from the HR system or could be generated from or created by the attorneys themselves. They come into the system into a queue. Now, every attorney or every paralegal has their own queue. Now, if I was to just open any of the test records, what you will look here is this is all of the data associated with the candidate before they become a Microsoft employee, or with the Microsoft employee data, which is primarily required for the attorneys to file in and submit the case. So if you look at it, we are bringing in most of the details which are prerequisite for USCIS to accept the data from Microsoft, and then some of their current status in terms of what is their current status, what visa type are we filing for. Now, one thing, if you notice, as I said, this is also applicable to the for the dependents, which means all of the dependent cases associated with the principal are also filed through the same system. If you scroll down, here's something which we have enabled as the App Source solution, as I was describing. We'll talk about it in more detail tomorrow, but this is something which enables very efficient UI email exchange, exchange email from the system in a very modern UI friendly way. If I was to open any of the cases associated with this foreign national, can you scroll down, Anil? You may not have it. That's fine. So here we are capturing some of the critical immigration dates, which is where we are actually creating workflows. So take an example of, I have an employee whose passport is gonna expire in 2019. We have enabled workflows in Dynamics which will auto-trigger the notifications to the employee and also to the attorney, reminding them that your passport is about to expire, and then they can actually act on that and not worry about the document getting expired. If you move on to the portal. Now, this is the interface which I was describing about the portals. This is completely built and customized on Microsoft CRM portals. This is the interface which the candidates or the employees use for exchanging the data or the details with the attorneys. Now, if I was to just look at this scenario, I am the foreign national here in this test system, and as soon as I log in into the system, the very first thing I see is like a reminder over here, which shows me what are the actions required for me, or what are the tasks or the activities which are pending or due for me to take action on. After looking at that, I can actually go in and look at my cases, which means I can go and look at the cases which are open for me, which the attorneys are working on. The previous scenario was the employees had to go back and forth over emails to find out the status of their case in terms of where their cases are residing. Now, because it's all in one place, just by one click, I can go and look at what status my current case sits in. I can also look at the documents which are required from me. So there are most of the times attorneys require me to upload my documents, whether it's my latest I-94 or the proof of entry when I come into the country. Without going to the emails, I can just go in and upload the document over here, and then it will trigger an approval process for the attorneys in the back end. And then lastly, the important thing is, as I said, because dependents are also being provisioned using this system, we have created something called as a switch profile, which means when I am logged in, I will be able to see all the dependents associated with my record, and I'll be able to do actions on their behalf by switching the profile. That's fine. And then lastly, because we are looking at the integration with the HR systems, currently we are building this integration, but while we build that, we have created something in the interim, which is the another portal. So this is what the HR recruiting partners do when they are processing the candidates. So for them to trigger a new case for the visa evaluation, they just go into the portal and create a new case, which means the attorneys get notified and they get engaged on the case. So where are we going from here in terms of the next steps or the roadmap? We are working on building a more efficient and building workflows which could take out the manual interactions or the manual work currently. So a lot of focus with our business partners is to reduce all of the manual work and the processes which are currently still blocking or taking a lot of time in terms of delivering the end result. We are going to productize this as a solution in AppSource, which means tomorrow if you have to implement an immigration solution for your company, you can go into the AppSource, you can download the solution which you saw here. You will be able to customize all of the steps and all of the details as per your business process flow, and that would be available in AppSource by sometime around October. We are looking at how do we bring down the average case handling time and the cost in terms of the efforts as we discussed. But then there are also a lot of other very productive scenarios where we are trying to build in the OCR or the vision capabilities, wherein the auto approvals or the documents can be auto approved based on the data and the content which is submitted by the employees. And then lastly, we are working with our external legal counsels. So Microsoft works with a lot of outside law firm counsels. We are looking at their processes, and if they do anything manually, we are trying to bring that into the solution.
Looking at the architectural diagram, your customers are like Microsoft employees or paralegals, right? Like for this particular system, your look and feel of their side look completely different than Dynamics. So what was that start like?
Great question. So the question is, can you switch back to the... So the question is the look and feel which I was showing over here. Second tab. This is completely different. This doesn't look and feel like Dynamics. You're right, because this is something which is called as the Microsoft Portal, CRM portals, which is an add-on on top of the Dynamics. And the use case is if you want to extend out your Dynamics as a channel to most of the users who don't have to be in CRM, you can build it on the portals. So as I described, we have 12,000 plus employees who have to go and use the system. We didn't want to provision every employee in CRM as a user, so we have created them as a contact, and they can use the portal.
Because the scenario we are in, a lot of people don't like how Dynamics is.
Right.
Salespeople.
Right.
So this would be ideal for them, like just cover that, but behind the scenes have Dynamics.
Yeah. So I think the comment was a lot of people actually feel that the Dynamics UI is restrictive most of the times. So if you were to build in a more customized experience for any of your user base, whether it's the sales team or in this case we have done it for our employees, portals are completely customizable. Can you switch back? So if you have any other follow-up questions, we are right here at the IT Pros booth, and I'll be around. But thanks for hanging by, and if you get a chance, please take the session evaluations. Thank you.